Mr. Peters, you read the official gazette.
Yes, sir.
The time is shrinked, contrary to what you thought, to 2 months.
Yes.
Therefore, there has got to be some paring, cutting away of time taken in examining and cross-examining. So what will happen is this. I will limit the cross-examination to 20 minutes, and then the guillotine will apply. It would affect everybody, but that is what it has to be. We'll try with it, at least. We'll make an effort. Would you swear the prisoner, please?
Sir, do you swear to record evidence about the news, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth, sir? Yes, sir.
May I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Proceed, please. Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Collison.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Selwyn Peters. I represent the Guyana Prison Service. I have some questions for you. Now, the last time we met, you mentioned that you faced some charges of discharging a firearm, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the firearm that you discharged was at a police officer, correct?
I didn't discharge any firearm.
Or the allegation of the discharge of a firearm was at a police officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you, in terms of Capital Block A, you had a group of inmates that you socialized with, and I'm going to name them, and you confirm or deny that. You were close with Paddy, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were close with Fungus, right?
No, sir.
You weren't close with Fungus?
No, sir.
These pictures that you have with Fungus, and you have some pictures on your Facebook page
Yes, sir.
with yourself and Fungus and Paddy,
Yes, sir.
right? You have at least 3 or 4 pictures?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to suggest to you that that was part of your clique. Those were your boys, right?
I never had a clique in prison, sir.
And let's talk about Fungus, or German Otto. Remember I questioned you in March about the March 2nd events at the jail?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to suggest to you that you would have observed German Otto while he was ranting, raving, and inciting other prisoners on March 2nd.
I never observed that, sir.
And you would have observed that as well on March 3rd.
No, sir.
And you would have seen Paddy as well.
No, sir.
You would have observed the fights that took place in Capital Block A as well on March 2nd.
No, sir. No fight never took place in the division. I was present in the division. No fight never took place there.
Now let's talk about your search on March 3rd. You would have been the 3rd or 4th wave of prisoners that came out of Capital Block A?
The second set, sir.
You were the second set.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why you choose not to stay back with your friends?
My friends?
Yeah, Paddy and Fungus and those guys.
You get it wrong, sir. My family is my friends. I don't have no friends. Me alone come in prison and me alone going out of prison, sir. I don't have friends.
So you came out in the second wave?
Yes, sir.
And you came down and you were searched by an officer?
Yes, sir.
And you recognized the officer who searched you on that day?
If I recognize the officer?
Yeah, the officer that performed the the search of your belongings and the strip search?
Yes, I recall the officer.
And who was that officer?
She's sitting right behind you, sir.
You know his name?
No, I don't know his name.
Okay, Mr. Wickham?
Yes, sir.
Right, he was the officer that conducted the search.
Yes, sir.
And you had no issues with the search that was conducted at that point by Mr. Wickham,
No, sir.
right? And shortly thereafter, the task force came. You were intercepted by a group of officers in
Yeah.
riot shields.
Yes, sir.
And those officers circled you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they were pushing you in a certain direction, weren't they?
No, sir.
I'm going to suggest that they were pushing you in a certain direction.
Sir, and I'm telling you they wasn't.
And you were resistant, weren't you?
No, sir.
You were fighting at the officers.
Never. I was never fighting with no officer, sir. I can't see 8 or 9 officers with shields and baton and want to fight back with them.
You were, yes, you were, and
No.
you actually tried to escape. You actually ducked. The first move you did was ducked and push at an officer, didn't you?
No, sir. That's a lie.
That's a lie. And if there's objective evidence in the form of a video that shows you
Just a
doing
minute.
that,
You have to explain to him what you mean by objective evidence.
very well, Mr. Chairman. If we have a video showing that you actually ducked and then hit at an officer, you would say the video was Photoshop. Would you say that? Or doctored in some way, wouldn't you?
I would like to see the video.
You would like to see the video.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me put the suggestions to you, and at some point you may have the opportunity to see that video. I suggest that you were not compliant when the officers took you down. You were actually actively resistant.
I was never resisting no officer, sir.
You actually fought at the officers,
Never. I never fought with the officer.
right? You fought with the officers,
No, sir.
and then the officers grounded you after some considerable effort.
No, no, sir. I never fight to the officers.
You didn't comply with the officers' direction to get down on the ground. You actually fought them, and they had to struggle to get you down on the ground.
I never fight with any officer, sir. I comply.
You say you comply.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. Well, we'll see what the other evidence shows.
Okay, sir.
And when you were taken down, you were still actively resistant.
I never resist. Never, sir.
You were cursing at the officers, weren't you?
No, sir.
You actually threatened some of the officers' lives, didn't you?
Never, sir. I never threaten any officer. Never.
At the point when you were moved to, you said you requested to see a senior officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
And a senior officer you did see a senior officer, didn't you?
No, sir. About the response I get when I ask to see a senior officer is that no officer is available at the moment.
Well, I'm going to suggest that you, Collison, saw Senior Superintendent Samuels.
I saw Mrs. Samuels about an hour or 2 after, sir.
You spoke to Senior Superintendent Samuels, didn't you?
I saw him about an hour or 2 after.
You spoke to Senior Superintendent Samuels, didn't you?
About an
Yes
hour,
or no?
An hour after, sir. Hour after.
Yes or no? You spoke to Senior Superintendent Samuels.
I spoke to Mrs. Samuels an hour or 2 after, sir.
Yes, you did, right?
But an hour or 2 after.
So you did speak to him.
But an hour or 2 after I speak to Mrs. Samuels.
So you can't say yes.
I speak to him about an hour or 2, and we didn't even have 5 minutes conversation. He was speeding.
And while you were speaking to Senior Superintendent Samuels, you were still being abusive, weren't you?
Never, sir. There's a lie.
You were still being hostile and aggressive to the officers, weren't you?
There's a lie, sir. There's a lie. Total lie.
Well, the officers that dealt with you are going to appear before this tribunal and give evidence in respect to your conduct on that day.
Okay, sir. They coming out?
But you say that you were being totally compliant.
Yes, sir.
When you were on the ground, right? After the fight, or after the officers grounded you, how did they move you to reception?
By dragging me by the foot, the chain of the foot cuff, holding the chain, the foot cuff and the chain and the handcuff.
So they had your handcuffed hands, and then some of them had your feet.
Yes, sir.
And while you were moved, you were observing everything else that was happening, correct?
Because the direction that I was facing, they was fetching me by my hands and my feet.
Right. So you could observe everything that was going on from the time you were removed from the yard to the time you got to reception.
I was facing the building. I observed what was going on the Capital Division, sir.
Right. And at no point were you sleeping or you lost consciousness or anything like that.
If I lost consciousness?
Yes, at any point in time.
Yes, when I meet around by the kitchen, forgot the reception, the officers them loose me on the ground.
They loose you on the ground.
Yes, sir.
You fell on the ground?
Yes, sir.
And were you saying you lost consciousness?
Yes, sir, because I knocked my head, I knocked myself hard. I lie down there for about a minute or a minute or two. And then they tell me get up and fix up myself, fix up your clothes and walk and go upstairs.
And did you go to the infirmary?
I never go to no infirmary.
Why you didn't go to the infirmary if you